Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. So welcome this evening, everybody. Another wonderful opportunity to associate with each other, to hear the transcendental sound of Srimad Bhagavatam, the words of Krishna himself, to absorb our consciousness in the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name. Although we're distant in terms of geographical location, we're all close because we're all putting Krishna in the center of our lives, putting the Srila Prabhupada, putting Krishna, the holy name, in the center of our lives. This evening we're going to be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam from the 10th canto, 13th chapter. It's a subject matter which was very special, being the last translations that Srila Prabhupada left for us in this world, and his commentaries. They're very special verses. So we'll start by singing, as Prabhupada would invariably do, chant Jai Radha Madhava. Beautiful song giving us a glimpse into the spiritual world. Oh, it's like a window. Sometimes we maybe right now people are dreaming of going on holiday, and they're looking at brochures advertising various materially attractive places, all of which are temporary and unfulfilling in the reality. A little technical hitch. Please bear with us. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Solve the problem. So it gives us a little glimpse of the realm of divinity, the spiritual realm, where Krishna sports with his associates, his devotees eternally. It's the right of every living entity to enter into that transcendental realm. So let us try to hear the sound now, just a little song. Please join along. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Janabhava Girivardhari Gopi Janabhava Girivardhari Yastodanandana Rajajanarandana Sharanandana Rajajanarandana Yastodanandana Rajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava. Back online now. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Welcome everybody this evening. Those who just joined us. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharyas Tata Satashila AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridasa Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Gangamaya Ki Yamuna Maya Ki Tulsi Deva Ki Bhakti Deva Ki Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan Ki Brihat Padanga Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hago Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled, all glorious to Shri Guru and Grand Gopal Shri Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvada Vichari Namaste Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. So, Rasikananda is there?
Yes.
If Rasikananda Prabhu can please put this evening's verse on the screen as soon as possible. This is from the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, verse number 60. For the last few days, we've been discussing the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. I'll put the screen up for joining on as well, in case someone wants to join. The prayers of Prahlad Maharaj from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And last time we mentioned we would carry on a little bit of the discussion on the last prayer which we discussed, which was particularly regarding becoming free of envy. So we'll carry on a little bit with that this evening, but we'll be reading from a different verse related to that subject. So this is text 60, and this chapter from the Bhagavatam is entitled Lord Brahma Stealing the Boys and the Calves. And this was one of the very last verses that Srila Prabhupada ever commented on. There's only another 3 or 4 verses after this, 3, 4 more verses after this, and there's not much commentary. This was one of his last ever commentaries, which he left us with. So please repeat after me. Yatra Naisaga Durvaira, Yatra Naisaga Durvaira, Sahasan Magadaya,
Sahasan
Mitrani Vajitavasa, Ruturuttarshakadikam, Yatranai Saga Durvaira, Sahasani Magadaya, Mitrani Vajitavasa, Ruturuttarshakadikam. Okay, we'll go on to the translation. Vrindavan. Translation, please. Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger, or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word vana means forest. We're afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. Of course, in the West, we may not be afraid of the forest. This is more the jungle, you could say. And even in the West, in the dark, the forest is thick and dark. It may be a little bit frightening sometimes. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no envy. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals to live together. And when they go to drink water, they do not attack anyone. Envy develops because of sense gratification. But in Vrindavan, there is no sense gratification. For the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavan are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and supply milk to the tigers, saying, "Come here and take a little milk." Thus envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and the ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name of Vana, forest. But in Vrindavan, there is no such horror. Everyone there is happy by pleasing Krishna. Krishna Kirtana Gananatana Paro. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everyone is happy. The calf is happy, the cat is happy, the dog is happy, the man is happy, everyone. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity, and thus there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavan, we find that the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has the right to live. This is Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No, that is material life. The inhabitants of Vrindavan think, whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasadam and eat. This mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness. By sadhana or practice, one can come to this platform. In the material world, one may collect funds all over the world in order to distribute food freely. Yet those to whom the food is given may not even feel appreciative. The value of Krishna consciousness, however, will gradually be very much appreciated. For instance, in an article about the temple of the Hare Krishna movement in Durban, South Africa, the Durban Post reported, all the devotees here are very active in the service of Lord Krishna, and the results are obvious to see. Happiness, good health, peace of mind, and the development of all good qualities. This is the nature of Vrindavan. Arava Kuto Mahadgunha. Without Krishna consciousness, happiness is impossible. One may struggle, but one cannot have happiness. We are therefore trying to give human society the opportunity for a life of happiness, good health, peace of mind, and all good qualities through God consciousness. End of purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada, I was reading actually the transcription of Srila Prabhupada speaking this purport a few weeks, a couple of weeks before he left the world, when he was lying on his bed in Vrindavan, thinking of the welfare of all living entities, of the devotees, knowing that this message of Srimad Bhagavatam will save people. Srimad Bhagavatam propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those who are nimatsaranam. Matsara means envy, near matsara, no envy. Matsara is one of the primary, is described as being enemy of the living entity. In the sense that this envious nature, or this nature of seeing ourselves as the enjoyer or the usurper of others' property, is the cause of our suffering, having its initial roots in our independent desire to show aversion towards Krishna, turn against him. The mentality of seeing oneself as the enjoyer of someone else's energy. Prabhupada says this too, that envy is to interfere in the rights of others. It's one of his descriptions of envy. Every living entity has its rights, even in this world. Ishavasya sarvam yakincha jagacham jagat. Tena chaktena bunjita magudi kashasvidam. In the Upanishads, we see this famous verses there, in several Upanishads. This God-centered society, one who understands that everything animate, alive or inanimate, what we call dead matter, is the property owned by the Supreme Lord. It's his property. Everything belongs to him. Aham sarvasya prabhavomatak sarvam pravartite. For me, Krishna says, everything emanates, all material and spiritual, everything comes from me. The wise know this in truth. Engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. this knowledge as to who is the proprietor, will bring peace in society. Bhaktaram yagatam tapa. Bhaktaram tapasam. Sarva Udamhesham. Yathamam Shanti Michiti. Bhaktaram yagatapasam. Sarva Lokamaheshram Suridam Sarvabhutanam. Yathamam Shanti Michiti. The wise person, he knows that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord. Everything. He's the friend of everyone. He's actually meant to be the enjoyer of everything. One who knows this in truth becomes free from all the miseries of material existence. This is Vrindavan. Of course, on this platform or this world that we're living in, we may not see very much experience of this, where people in general are self-centered. Srila Prabhupada gave the example one time, a simple example to illustrate the point. He said, if you take a handful of pebbles and throw them into the lake, each pebble will have its own circles, and they will naturally clash with each other. There will be friction. There will be many waves on the lake, all clashing. But if you take one stone, one pebble, and throw one pebble into the lake, there will be waves, but there will be no friction. And this is likened to the example of the material and the spiritual realm. On the spiritual platform is one stone, many, many waves, many ripples. The one stone is everyone is putting Krishna's interest in the center. Although we may be different, we may be on different waves, there is no friction. Everyone is serving Krishna according to their situation. The dog is serving the tiger, the elephant, the snake, the insect, the tree, the bird, the humans. Everyone, whatever their nature may be, they're engaging it in Krishna's service for Krishna's pleasure. Krishnendriya, for the pleasure of Krishna's senses. Whereas the material world is like many stones, where we see ourselves in the center, and we try to influence others, interfere sometimes with others' rights. In the dictionary, we find the example or the definition of envy. When we want what somebody else has got. Of course, that can be a good thing also sometimes. But when it's with you can say, a rather inimical basis or a selfish basis. We want, I wish I could be rich like that. Or if it's a position, I wish I could have their position. Or why are they getting recognition and not me? Why have they got all the luck? Why is it going their way? And so on. That can be extended. We hear in this verse how the animals, even tigers and other living entities, they're friendly. There is no envy there. Envy is born from this mentality of seeing oneself as the enjoyer, the center. It's for me. We all see this is called the relative world. We see things in relationship to ourselves and judge them accordingly. In the spiritual realm, is in relationship with Krishna. We are here to try to cultivate this spiritual mentality of seeing things in relationship with Krishna. Understanding that everything is the property of the Lord. In the Upanishads, it continues to say, therefore, one should take that which is set aside as one's quota and not usurp or try to take that which is others' quotas. We should be satisfied with our quota, understanding that whatever we've got is given to us ultimately by the Supreme Lord, be it due to our karma or our desire, but ultimately it's Krishna's energy. We should try to see how we can, mentally and physically, how we can utilize that in relationship with Krishna. And then seeing other living entities in relationship with Krishna, step by step. And there will be no envy. There will be no desire to exploit others. When somebody has got something that we want to enjoy. Another meaning of envy is violence to others, creating harm to other living entities, causing suffering to other living entities. This is a practical manifestation of envy. It may manifest in the form of anger also. These are various, say, practical demonstrations of envious mentality. We sometimes want to eat the bodies of other living entities in the form of animals or birds, etc. We're envious. We're sometimes envious of what we are, envious of our own human form of life. We're misusing this human form of life, which is meant for God realization, to try to enjoy sense gratification, try to squeeze sense gratification out of our own body, not to speak of that of others. Our body also belongs to Krishna. It's meant for his service. Yet we're trying to enjoy our own bodies separately from Krishna. This is the material world. What to say? In the spiritual world, that is not the case. The spiritual form is a manifestation of one's loving emotions of how to bring pleasure to Krishna. Just like a man or a woman, if they're in love with each other, they may dress in such a way as to please the other person. Of course, they may not also. They may be doing it simply to please themselves. If you really want to capture the other person's attention, you have to find out what they want and behave, act, talk, even think maybe, in a way which is pleasing to them. If one's girlfriend likes roses, then you won't give her roses. You won't give her some flower she doesn't like, unless you want to get rid of her. If you want to attract her attention, you'll try to supply that which they want. Similarly in relation with Krishna, we try to do everything in a way which is for his pleasure. This is Krishna karma. This will cleanse our heart of all the dirty things that have accumulated. The dirty desires, the selfish desires, the envious desires, the lusty desires, the greedy desires, etc., that have accumulated in our consciousness can be cleansed by hearing this transcendental subject matter related to Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to those Bhagavats. The two rails are there on the railway line. There are two tracks. These two tracks, the two Bhagavats, the book Bhagavat and the person Bhagavat. There's a spiritual literature, subject matter, and the living manifestation of that subject. When we have the opportunity to associate and serve both, we can make nice progress towards Vrindavan, towards the spiritual realm, and can become released of all of these inimical aspects of our consciousness. We're going to read now another beautiful verse, purport, in the Bhagavatam. This is in the... Are we back on?
Yes.
Sorry, Prabhu, there's a little bit of technical hitch this evening. We hope that this will be solved. You have to go on the other one next time, VIP. So this is in regards to one great king. His name was King Prithu. King, long time ago. This great king, he was very pious king. He was actually empowered by the Supreme Lord. And he was performing all kinds of sacrifices for the benefit of all living entities. Now, envy even arises even on the higher levels of this universe. Now, the King of Heaven, that doesn't mean, normally in Christianity was in Jesus Christ. But in the Vedic scriptures, heaven is not necessarily that transcendental abode which the Christians envisage. is a higher plane within the material universe, just like we have in our countries that we live. We may have a president or a king or a ruling party, whatever it may be. And we voted them in, so that's another thing. But they may make many mistakes. So even on the higher planetary systems, in the heavens, there is a king. King of heavens is known as Indra. And he also sometimes gets overwhelmed with selfish or self-centered motivations. So he started to get a little envious of this king named Prithu Maharaj, who was performing various sacrifices, afraid that by performing these great sacrifices and austerities, this king might become so powerful, he might be occupying his Indra's post. So he decided he would try to do something to interfere with that sacrifices which King Prithu was performing. But we're not going to get into that story. We're just going to read a bit of a purport in one of these verses. Indra couldn't tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. In the purport, Prabhupada says, in the material world, everyone who comes to enjoy himself or lord it over material nature is envious of others. This is the, you could say, the trigger of envy. We want to be the enjoyer. You press the trigger on a gun, bang, the bullet comes out. So this point of being, desiring, seeing oneself as the enjoyer of others or enjoyer of the material energy or any energy, come to that. We are trying to enjoy. Our nature is to be happy. But our nature is not to be happy trying to usurp that which doesn't belong to us. So in the material world, we do that, and that creates a mood of envy of others. This comes in. We're always thinking of our own interests, even in relationship with others. This envy is also found in the personality of the King of Heaven, Indra. As evident from revealed scripture, Indra was several times envious of many persons. He was especially envious of great fruitive activities and the execution of yoga practice or siddhis, different types of mystic powers that people may get. Indeed, he could not tolerate them and he desired to break them up. If somebody becomes too powerful or too influential, then somebody else may come along and try to, stop it, break it. Some country becomes too influential. Another country may try to put them down. This sometimes happens. He was envious due to fear that those who perform great sacrifice for the execution of mystic yoga might occupy his seat. So this is, again, fearfulness. When we see ourselves in the center, defense comes in, which is a manifestation of fear. We're trying to protect ourselves, or we're trying to avoid an uncomfortable situation. We're afraid of being exposed. We're afraid of the unknown, of death, or whatever it may be. All these things may interfere and may cause us to be fearful. And envy may be another aspect of fear. Since no one in this material world can tolerate another's advancement, everyone in the material world is called Matsara, or envious. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is therefore said, Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who are completely Nimatsaram. In other words, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, however, if someone excels another person, the devotee who is excelled thinks how fortunate the other person is to be advancing in devotional service. Nice, huh? Because, just imagine, we're here to try to advance in spiritual life. We should try to remember that. Well, I don't know if everyone online is thinking like that, but that's what we should be thinking. We're here to advance in Krishna consciousness, to become free of envy. Now, if someone around us is advancing in Krishna consciousness, what does that mean? We better, bring them down, pull them down, right? No, it means if we have their association, as we heard the other day, is by good association, generally speaking, is the main impetus for our advancement in spiritual life. So if they're advancing, we should be very happy, because by their association, we can also advance. It doesn't mean advancing on the material platform, getting a bigger position, being more respected, whatever, but genuinely becoming purified in heart, genuinely becoming Krishna consciousness, becoming Krishna conscious. If it's material, that's another thing that is not favorable. But if they're actually making spiritual advancement, we should be happy. We should be happy because now we can, by their association, we can also make spiritual advancement. But in the material world, because people are not so familiar with this, and not at all familiar with this spiritual aspect. It's generally a material, everything's judged relatively on the material platform. Such non-envy is typical of Vaikuntha. However, when one is envious of his competitor, that is material. The demigods posted in the material world are not exempt from envy. They're still touched by the material energy. They're still self-centered, even though they may be very pious. Being in the mode of goodness does not mean that one is freed of envy. There is still a certain degree of envy of other living entities. Now we're going to read something from the fourth canto also. This is the activities of the Prachetas. They were great devotees of the Lord also, performing austerities. And there's some beautiful verses here, which are spoken, I think, by the Prachetas themselves. This is the fourth canto, chapter 30, text 35. Even a moment's association, 34 and 35, even a moment's association with a pure devotee cannot be compared to being transferred to heavenly planets or even merging into the Brahmana effulgence in complete liberation. For living entities who are destined to give up the body and die, association with pure devotees is the highest benediction. But why? Because in the association of pure devotees, pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed. The members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. I'll read that again, it's pretty important. This is text 35, chapter 30, canto 4. Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. This is the only safe place in the material world, to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness, to absorbed in hearing, chanting, and remembering the holy name, the pastimes of the Lord, in the association of devotees. Sometimes we see in the material world, when a person becomes so absorbed in something, they forget all these things too. Of course, they're absorbed in their own sense of enjoyment, but they forget their enemies, they forget all that's going on in the world. There can be so many problems going on in the world around them, but they're so absorbed in what they're doing. They may be intoxicated too, sometimes, and they forget everything that's going on, all their problems, everything goes away. But it's only temporary. Here we see the same thing mentioned, at least for the time being. Because, at least in the beginning stages, this tendency is there. We don't keep ourselves in this safe place. We spend some time chanting and hearing in the association of devotees, and we have this experience that we become free. Maybe we feel repentant in our heart. We feel sorry in our heart that we're not so sincere in our devotional service, etc. Or other purificatory experiences in our heart may take place when we're in that association of devotees, hearing and chanting Krishna consciousness, or hearing and chanting the holy name. So they're no longer envious of one another. In kirtan, chanting and dancing together, we also feel the same thing. When we're sitting serving each other during prasadam, the same experiences there. We feel completely freed of inimical thoughts, and one wishes one never had them. One just wants to serve other devotees and other people. One just wants to think to the welfare of all living entities in this world. Because of the presence of the Lord in the form of transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is evoked. Vaikuntha means no anxiety, no suffering, pure. This atmosphere is without fear, no anxiety. One living entity does not fear another. There's nothing to fear. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. Why should the finger fear be afraid of the foot on the same body, that is. We're all part of the supreme, you could say, expansion of the Supreme Personality of God. Mami Vaksha Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. So what is there to fear? It's simply due to ignorance and consequent envy that we fear other living entities, or that we have ill feelings towards other living entities. They may be deep in the mode of ignorance, covered by various degrees of lust, etc. But one who's actually seeing things in relation with Krishna has no fear, has no animosity towards anyone. As we were discussing or hearing the other night, how Prahlad Maharaj was just praying that every living entities in this world become free of envy and think of each other's welfare by engaging themselves in devotional service. It's only by, practically speaking, engaging in devotional service in the association of devotees that this change of heart can take place by the mercy of Krishna. It's not that people have to change. It's not that the world has to change. It's our consciousness that changes. How we see each other. How we relate to each other. This is evoked or takes place by exposing ourselves to the transcendental sound vibration of Krishna Katha. Shrinvatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. By hearing the holy name and glories of the Lord, a person executes pious activity. Thus his material hankerings immediately stop. The Sankirtan movement, started by the Society for Krishna Consciousness, is meant for creating Vaikuntha, the transcendental world that is without anxiety, even in this material world. One time Prabhupada was asked, what is it like, Srila Prabhupada? What is Vaikuntha like? And Prabhupada answered, this is Vaikuntha, but you cannot see it. Your heart is covered. Consciousness is dirty. When the consciousness becomes cleansed, it's not like we go from here, I'm in France, someone else may be in America, somebody may be in Australia, somebody may be in Philippines, India, wherever it is, and we may get a, when you think, I'm going to the Philippines, it means you have to take a plane or whatever it is, maybe get a visa, so many things. It's not like that, exactly. We hear descriptions which tend to look like that, but ultimately, the spiritual world is right here. It's just that we're covered. Our consciousness is covered. We cannot experience that transcendental realm with our material senses. Shri Krishna Namadina Baba Grain. As long as we're covered by these materialistic senses, materialistic mind, materialistic consciousness, we cannot actually understand or experience the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of God. The method is the propagation of the Shravanam Kirtana, means hearing and chanting process throughout the world. In the material world, everyone is envious of his fellow man. Animalistic envy exists in human society as long as there is no performance of Sankirtan Yogya, the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By the spreading this Sankirtan, this chanting of the holy name, this can purify the hearts and free us of this selfishness, which is based on this enviousness. Purify our hearts by this Sankirtan. Change the whole world, the consciousness of the world. The partakers therefore decided to remain always in the society of devotees, and they considered that to be the highest benediction possible in human society. This is their mercy that they shower upon us. The Goswami said it. They're so merciful, they're showering upon us songs about Govinda, topics concerning the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It sounds kind of like, well, what's that? We don't realize that this is the actual medicinal means to cure us of all of the dirty things in our heart, to bring us to the platform of happiness. We find this beautiful verse in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vavoshiti chotam anobiramat, uttama shloka gunanavadat. How the devotees of the Lord, in the association, nivrittatar shiupadiyamad, in the association of those devotees, those pure devotees who are freed of envy, in their association, we can hear and chant. In their association, by hearing the messages which they share with us, Bhava Oshadi. Oshadi is medicine. Bhava cures us of this, conditioning, bondage in this material world. Bhava Oshadi Chotamanobaran cleanses our consciousness. And what is it that? Is it just being with him? That's also there. But primarily, it's to hear Uttama Shloka Gunanavadat. By hearing the messages which they give. This is what cleanses us of envy. By submissively hearing those messages. This is, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Ene cheo sari maya nashiva lagi harinam mahamantra lautu me magi. He's brought the medicine to cure us of this material disease. Cleanse our heart. What is that medicine? Sankirtan. Chanting and hearing about the name, form, pastimes, qualities of the Supreme. So purifying. So let us hear. It's a beautiful section which we're going to read now. I mentioned we're going to read something very wonderful the other day, and this is it. This is the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're going to take it up from text number 16 of the 21st chapter, 9:21:16. King Rantidev was a great king in ancient times. Although he's on the verge of death because of thirst, This is text number 6. Because King Rantidev perceived the presence of the Supreme Godhead everywhere and in every living entity, he received the guest with faith and respect. Okay, I'll go back one verse further. Text number 5. Rantidev never endeavored to earn anything. He would enjoy whatever he got by the arrangement of providence. But when guests came, he would give them everything. Thus he underwent considerable suffering, along with the members of his family. Indeed, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water. Yet Rantidev always remained sober. Once after fasting for 48 days, in the morning, Rantidev received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But when he and his family were about to eat, a Brahmin, a guest, arrived. Because Rantidev perceived the presence of the Supreme Lord everywhere and in every living entity, he received the guest with faith and respect and gave him a share of the food. The Brahmin guest ate his share and then went away. Thereafter, having divided the remaining food with his relatives, Rantidev was just about to eat his own share when a Shudra, a very simple, low-class kind of personality, arrived. Seeing the Shudra in relationship with the Supreme Lord, King Rantidev gave him also a share of the food. When the Shudra went away, another guest arrived, surrounded by dogs, and said, "O King, I and my company of dogs are very hungry. Please give us something to eat." With great respect, King Rantidev offered the balance of the food to the dogs and the master of the dogs, who had come as guests. The king offered them all respects and obeisances. Thereafter, only the drinking water remained, and there was only enough to satisfy one person. But when the king was about to drink it, a Chandala, he was like a meat eater or whatever, appeared and said, "O king, although I am low born, kindly give me some drinking water." Aggrieved at hearing the pitiable words of the poor fatigued Chandala, Maharaj Rantidev spoke the following nectarian words. He said, "I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the 8 perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from repeated birth and death. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all distresses on their behalf, so that they may be freed from suffering. By offering my water to maintain the life of this poor Chandala, who is struggling to live, I have been freed from all hunger, thirst, fatigue, trembling of the body, moroseness, distress, lamentation, and illusion. Completely free from it. Having spoken thus, King Rantidev, although on the verge of death because of thirst, gave his own portion of water to the Chandala without hesitation. For the king was naturally very kind and sober. This is the nature of somebody who is non-envious. They have nothing to gain from anyone. They see everyone in relationship with Krishna. Their heart is pure. They think only of the welfare of others. We're just going to finish now on a subject which was brought up the other day. We didn't finish it. In regards to the pastimes of Krishna, and one devotee asked about when Krishna performs his pastimes on this plane, in this material, when he comes to this world, he performs superhuman pastimes. Srimad Bhagavatam is developed on the basis of the sages, the great sages wanting to hear these wonderful pastimes. So amongst those pastimes, there were many pastimes of persons who came to that Vrindavan, which would manifest Vrindavan in this material world. They came there with the intention, you could say, of causing harm to Krishna, of disturbing the residents of Vrindavan. Of demoniac mentality, they came there to challenge Krishna. And if we've read the Krishna book, we'll see therein how Krishna dealt with those various personalities in a very merciful way, because they were all delivered to the spiritual realm. But basically, Krishna killed them all. And each and every one of those personalities who came there with ill intent represents various anarthas, various dirty things within our heart. And it's described by our great Acharya Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by hearing these pastimes, it helps to remove those dirty things from our heart. Those anarthas, unwanted desires from our heart. As long as the heart is full of anarthas, then we cannot really make serious progress in spiritual life. We have to cleanse the heart, so that the heart, the desires, everything becomes artha, or valuable. And artha means of no value for spiritual life, that which binds us in the material world. So by hearing these pastimes, we become free. Now, in regards to envy, we haven't got a thought-back system here, but amongst those, certain demons were very representative of envy. And amongst them was Aghasura. Aghasura represents the sinful tendency of the mind to commit violence and harass others due to hatred and malice, as a manifestation of envy. Aghasura was in the form of a great serpent, and Krishna killed him. By hearing this pastime submissive, this is one way that we can help purify our hearts. Another one in that regards was Kaliya, also in the form of a great serpent, 1,000-hooded serpent. And Krishna very mercifully danced on his hoods and crushed him of all of his envy. The envy all came out from his various mouths in the form of poison and so on. Completely removed by the mercy of Krishna as he danced on the heads of Kaliya, destroying his false ego and his envy. So by hearing that pastime also is very, very purifying. This says, let's read a little bit here about these pastimes. The demons killed by Krishna in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam represent the impurities or obstacles that prevent a devotee from attaining pure love of Radha and Krishna. These undesirable impurities and demoniac qualities must be completely uprooted from the core of one's heart. Only 7% pure devotees of Krishna can live eternally in Vrindavan to blissfully serve Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states, the aspiring devotee should always pray loudly to the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna to drive out these evils. By doing so, his heart will be purified. As we heard from one devotee the other day, there are 2 demons killed by Balaram. And Balaram is the spiritual master, Adi Guru. And yes, it is basically true that they represent passion and ignorance. As we briefly mentioned, Agasura, grossly in ignorance of identity, etc. Denakasura, ignorance, gross ignorance, ass-like mentality, and how Balaram killed him. It drives out that ignorance within our hearts and the passionate nature of Palambasura, being very lusty, etc. So these 2 persons, we have to work on that by following the instructions of the spiritual master very carefully, hearing from him, hearing Sambandha Gyan, or hearing knowledge pertaining to our identity, pertaining to the nature of Godhead, our relationship with Godhead, and applying it in our lives very, very carefully, and engaging in practical devotional service to drive out ignorance and this lusty tendency which shrouds all of our consciousness. So we're finished here for tonight on that, and if there are any questions now, we will open up to questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Please come on time for class, somebody said here.
I did.
Oh, you said. That's up to you. I think I came on time, didn't I? Why are you asking me? You said, please come on time for class next. I thought I came on time. Oh, it wasn't for me. Okay. Okay, no problems. So if there are any questions, please do feel free. Anybody there? Nobody's there. We're all gone. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Can you hear? Oh, there we go. Any questions? You mentioned there is some degree of envy even in the mode of goodness. Please elaborate. We heard the other day a question, it's related. A question was asked about Narada Muni the other day and why he saw Krishna revealed himself, and then for the rest of his life he didn't see that form of Krishna. The rest of his life he was searching for Krishna. It said that Krishna purposely allowed him to be tinged with goodness of a material nature. He searched for Krishna in the forest, in the mountains, everywhere. And ultimately, of course, it was to increase his intention of finding Krishna, hankering in the heart, as we mentioned. It increases the devotee's hankering to achieve their objective like that. But in the mode of goodness, one becomes conditioned. In the mature sense, one becomes conditioned to the mode of goodness. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. One becomes attached to happiness, and one wants to maintain that image. There's an image in the mode of goodness also, being seen as a good person, as being recognized as a philanthropic person, etc. And to experience the pleasure of being seen like that. Now, this is meant for Krishna. It's natural a devotee is going to share in that. You could say that being seen in that way, or being seen in the center that is meant for Krishna. And naturally, the devotee shares in that, but it's not their motivation. One in the mode of goodness tends to think they want to be like that. They want to be seen like that. They want to experience that. So there may be that tinge of wanting to be happy, that tinge of wanting to be good, that tinge of wanting to be. Material is very good, you could say. It's a very good motivation. But for a devotee, he's not attached to that. He's not attached to any of the modes of nature. He's simply attached to whatever Krishna wants. Arjuna, he wanted to leave his position. He was naturally expected to fight on the battle of Kurukshetra, being a king. He didn't want to fight. He wanted to try to act in what he thought was the mode of goodness. But Krishna very chastised him very strongly for seeing things like that. That's a material concept, a material perception of being seen, materially compassionate. Let's say in the material world, these things are laudable, you could say. But from a spiritual point of view, this is not the mentality of transcendence. It's the mentality of one who's still attached to seeing themselves in the center. So there's still that degree, even though it may be materially, you could say pious, but it's not transcendental. But we're still seeing ourselves in the center. The freedom from envy is when we only see Krishnendra. When we'll do whatever Krishna wants and not just what we want. So we feel good about it. Many times, even Yudhisthira probably gives the example of Yudhisthira. When Yudhisthira was asked, even by the Lord, to tell a lie on the battle of Kurukshetra, he wouldn't do it. He was so attached. I can't do that. You know, in Dharma, I'm known for my truthfulness. How can I do that? What example will I set? He was going on. He wouldn't do it. So Krishna, played a trick on him. And actually at that time, one elephant, Ashwatthama, the name of the elephant was Ashwatthama. The name of Dronacharya's son was Ashwatthama. And everyone knew that only way that Drona would give up the battle was if his son was dead. So Krishna said, tell him his son's dead. Give up. He wouldn't do it. He said, all right, elephant has just died now, Ashwatthama. Tell him that elephant named Ashwatthama is dead. So you're saying Ashwatthama, the elephant. But when he said the elephant, Krishna blew his conch. Nobody could hear the elephant. He said Ashwatthama's dead. And then Drona. But he wouldn't tell a lie. He was too attached to my goodness. Even though Krishna was there. So sometimes it can be a little like that. Still seeing when envy is still seeing sense enjoyment. It may be fine sense enjoyment, but it's still there. A little bit of wanting to be, seen in the center, wanting to be respected, wanting to be seen as a good person, wanting to enjoy the fruits of the mode of goodness, whatever they are. Attachment to moral principles. Krishna says, Sarvadharman prityagyyo mamekam sharanam. Give up all religious activities. Give them all up. Surrender unto me. That is the mode of pure goodness. Material goodness may be very pious, religious activities and so on, but it's still seeing oneself or one's group in the center. Not complete freedom. Next one. A person who commits murder is envious of himself as well as the person he killed. How is it possible to be envious of ourselves? Well, it's kind of interesting subject. I mentioned earlier on how we misuse or exploit our body. The point is that we're not this body. The basic foundation of the spiritual knowledge is we're not this body, we're not this mind. It is not our business to, let's say, behave inappropriately, to use our body inappropriately. Murder, suicide, these things go on, and various types of exploitation go on, physical, mental, sexual exploitations go on in this material world. But it's not the proper use of our own body. Certainly it's envious towards others, that's for sure. We're interfering with their rights in life. So that's definitely a fact. But we're also interfering with our own rights. We're misusing the purpose of our own human form of life by, say, performing acts which are detrimental to our own journey, our own sojourn in this material world, by acting against the direction of scriptures, against even mundane morality. So in that sense, we're actually causing our own suffering. We're utilizing our body in a way which is interfering with the real purpose of our lives and causing our own suffering in the future. So in that sense, you could say we're being envious. We're acting in a way to cause our own suffering. Next one. How will we control our envious nature, especially in this competitive material world? Well, we did read earlier on that by the association of devotees, hearing and chanting Krishna Katha and the association of devotees helps to cleanse the heart of the envious feeling. The secret is to associate with pure devotees of the Lord through hearing their messages, through following the process which they give us to apply in our lives, chanting the holy names, following certain principles, etc. Like this will cleanse our hearts. Separately, there's no mechanical way of becoming freed of envy. We can try to get on the mode of goodness. All kinds of different methods are there to try to become, a goody-goody, a friend to everyone, etc. The only one who's truly a friend to everyone who is one who is Krishna conscious, who's seeing everyone in relationship with Krishna. So we have to follow such a great personality. And by hearing scriptures, studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, very powerful in helping to remind us of this. And to actually evoke the actual change of heart, and devotional services there is the medicinal method of changing our hearts, cleansing our hearts of the root, right down to the root, not just on the surface, not just coming to a better mode of nature, not just following religious principles, but actually realizing, coming to that platform of realizing, why should we be envious of anyone else? Why? There's nothing to be envious of. Actually, we don't have anything. We have nothing to be envious of. Everything belongs to Krishna. There's nothing to be envious of except for Krishna. And that's why we're in this material world, because we're envious of Krishna. So we have to change that by daily worship, also a wonderful process of offering everything to Krishna, service of various kinds, serving the Vaishnavas, preaching Krishna consciousness. Obviously, one who stops preaching Krishna consciousness, this is actually being envious. We have to share this Krishna consciousness with others. Prabhupada said one time to Yamuni, he said, "Are you teaching the girls how to cook?" And she said, "No, not right now." Prabhupada said, "If you don't teach what you've got or give what you've got, the tendency is we become envious. We've got to share it with others. Share the gifts we have, whatever we have, however small it is, even materially speaking. The same principle is there as we heard from Rantidev. He gave everything away. He depended on Krishna. In his case, he was spiritual. But even materially speaking, we see people willing to sacrifice their lives, even now in a sense materially. Different people in the health field, they're risking their lives, maybe sacrificing their lives for the sake of others. Materially laudable, but it's not transcendental. It's still tinged with a mundane concept, a mundane perception. Perception has to change. So we completely freed of all envy. Because even persons who are very, very kind in certain areas, in other areas they're not. They go home, they eat meat, they do this, they do that. So many things exploit the earth. But one who actually understands things in Ishavasana, in relation with Krishna, you're not envious of anybody or anything. Completely pure. Next one. How do we understand the structure of the Maha Mantra? Structure? What do we mean by structure of the Maha Mantra? Transcendental sound vibration. It's not a mundane sound. Of course, we could say in a sense, you could enter into the understanding of each word. Prabhupada didn't get into that very much, except for briefly explaining the meanings of the words. Some of our acharyas get into great depth to describe each and every syllable of the Maha Mantra and the effect it has on coming into contact with each syllable, to remove, cleanses away the dirty things in our heart, awakens an attraction for Krishna, and so on, are described in each syllable of the mantra. But basically speaking, what is the structure? The structure of the holy name is transcendental, it's spiritual. I don't know how I don't really know how to answer that in terms of, let's say, a practical answer. When we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we're asking the Supreme Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. What else are we asking for? We're not really asking for anything else. The Lord will reciprocate with us accordingly. If we see the holy name as a material vibration, he'll reciprocate materially. If we treat the holy name in terms of a media for releasing us from suffering or releasing us from birth and death, he'll reciprocate accordingly. These are, you can say, inferior understandings. They may be there in the beginning. But the superior understanding of the holy name is that this is actually not the Lord himself appearing here. So we absorb ourselves completely in hearing and chanting the sound vibration of the holy name. The holy name awakens our dormant love of Godhead within our hearts. Awakens, it's already there in our hearts. But by hearing sincerely and purely hearing the holy name can awaken that dormant affection and attraction towards Krishna within our hearts. I'm not sure about the structure. Is there anything else? Are the 6 enemies of the mind coming one after another, starting with lust, with envy coming after pride? Well, envy is the first one because envy of Krishna gets the ball rolling. Then we come into the material world, we come under illusion, but the material energy places us under illusion, Maya, illusion. So envy of Krishna, then illusion. And then when the illusion is, we start to identify with this material body. And we start to become lusty, to enjoy things in this material world. And if we can't, when we try to get more and more and more in this material world, we become greedy. And if we can't get what we want, we become angry, and then we become mad. We become like crazy, completely mad in this material world. And consequently, envy penetrates through into this material world. It's not only before we come in. Envy comes in straight away too, because as soon as we become lusty, we want to enjoy the objects of the senses. We want to usurp somebody else's property or their bodies, to enjoy their body, etc., etc. So envy is always there. Envy is the underlying ingredient which really causes us to be bound up in this material. And it goes to the false ego, the ahankara, the false ego of the living entity, because what is the difference? The false ego of the living entity means to see oneself in the center, to try to imitate Krishna. And that's envy. It's false ego. And then it manifests in various other forms as lust and greed and anger and illusion. But first illusion, lust, greed, anger. So it's envy is the root. Envy is the root of all evils. Money, envy. Envy is the root of all evil. My question unto you, can Krishna's pastimes erase our anarthas and can bring us back to Godhead, back to home? Oh, well, yes, that's why Krishna appears in this world and manifests various pastimes. That's why he speaks the Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't come here for a holiday. He comes here to display his wonderful pastimes. But that's not all there is to it. We have to hear them from the right source. We have to hear them in the right way. And we have to, follow the methodology, Prabhupada said. So there's a method of hearing the holy name. There's a method of hearing Krishna Katha. We have to follow that method. Any hearing is good. Any hearing is good. But if we really want to go back to Godhead, then we have to be 10%. We have to be, by the mercy of the pure devotee, we have to render service. As the Bhagavatam says, Nityam Bhagavata Seva. What's that verse called? Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Bhagavati Tamashroti Bhakti Bhavati. So by rendering service to the pure devotee and by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, all the dirty things in our heart are cleansed practically to nil. And then, by this devotional practices, the modes of lust, a mode of passion and ignorance are destroyed within the heart. And only the mode of goodness remains there. And then in the associated devotees, when our devotional service is freed from the influence of these inimical influences, then that naturally, gradually evolves as we progress past the anartha stage, past the dirty stage of seeing ourselves in the center as the enjoyer, and we become fixed in devotional service. And gradually one progresses on and on and on. But it depends on the association of devotees, depends on our relationship with the association or with the devotees. So we have to try to cultivate a favorable relationship with devotees and try to serve in the association. In the association of devotees, this process is a vote of awakening our dormant love of Godhead. within our hearts. Anything else? Is that it? Is that all? Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Sorry, a little tired this evening. We hope that we'll see you all again on, what is it today? Wednesday? On Friday? I think Lord Nrsimha, when's Lord Nrsimha's appearance day? Huh?
Next week.
What day?
6th.
Don't know which day. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Next week is Nrsimha's appearance day. So it's a good build up to Lord Nrsimha's appearance day. We can hear more. We're going to go back to the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj on Friday.
It's a Wednesday.
Oh, it's a Wednesday. So we'll be building up the next two verses. Will bring us up to the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev next Wednesday. And there are a few other festivals coming up, I think, in between. Don't miss those. Wonderful. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Let me see the names. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Another small last point. Effect of the mode of goodness is that sometimes in the mode of goodness, one sees oneself as better than others, greater than others, or more advanced than others, or more important than others, more something than others. So it's like that. A little bit of envy is still there. One special. I think it's like that. So we have to become free of all that by putting Krishna in the center of our lives. In every way we can. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you all again soon. By Krishna's grace. Don't worry, everything's in Krishna's hands. Don't be afraid. Don't be worried. Whatever's happening right now in the world, ultimately Krishna's in control. Coronavirus is not in control. Krishna's in control. He's an unusual agent, you could say, maybe not a favorable agent, but ultimately it's a good thing. There's always some silver lining to every cloud. There's really a good reason, opportunity for all of us in this challenging situation to take more seriously Krishna consciousness and to cultivate more good qualities in our devotional life, to feel more. And as we said the other day, we can also take advantage of this by acting a little bit more in a way which is favorable. Even things like growing vegetables, growing flowers, doing things which are a bit more natural, which are more favorable to, you could say, for simple living and high thinking. And we can take advantage of that also at this point of time. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Haribo. Hare Krishna. Vanchika Patubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvekya Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Okay. Is there a question from Rupa?
No. He's a devotee I've seen after a very long time.
Who?
Ruparanga Bhaktidas.
Oh, in London.
Yes.
Are we all?
No.
Oh, sorry about that. Hare Krishna.